Hi guys, welcome back. Today we're going to visit with a YouTuber named Etika Genie, and Etika is going to talk a little bit about how things went from being body positive to fat positive, and it kind of affected her in a negative way. And I think you're really going to love what she has to say. Let me know your comments down below.
I went to my first dietitian at 5 years old. I think it was my family doctor just like calling me fat. That just like messed me up for life because I even remember in first grade, I just felt so out of place because I was the kid that had to get the uniform altered. As I got into my teens, I messed up my knees from overexercise, developed digestion issues from lax abuse, starving, restriction, binging. Back then in around 2016 when body positivity was coming out, like that was a really good thing. It was really good because that was the start of my self-love journey. I acknowledge it's good, but I feel now that it has transitioned into something more extreme like fat positivity, it has done more harm than good because now everyone thinks that fat people want to stay fat.
Do you guys feel like what Etika's saying is true? Did we in this country go from being body positive to more fat positive? And is that a bad move on behalf of the country and world? Let us know your thoughts in the comment section.
Or that they feed themselves like pigs on purpose, and that they are not struggling with depression or struggling with an eating disorder or financial issues or hormonal issues or whatever factors that may contribute to one being overweight. So now every time someone sees a fat person, it's like, oh, it's not because you're going through stuff, but it's because you choose to be fat. I was a teen at the beginning of body positivity before it turned into fat positivity. It was a good thing because it represented everyone without necessarily putting down other body types, which is what I've noticed recently. I mean, I won't say who, but she is a very well-known plus size model, and she likes to body shame the skinny girls. I thought you were promoting body positivity.
Do people that promote body positivity tend to be more fat positive? And if so, is there a point, like Etika's saying, where they actually start to look poorly on people that might be skinny, right? So they're being negative towards people with skinny bodies. Let us know what your thoughts are. Ryan Gross writes, man, I gotta say, I just discovered this channel, Walk Talk Vent, and I love it so much. It's like a PBS show or something, so chill, calm, and only positive values. Plus, I'm already a daily walker because of my dog, and I've totally seen all the benefits you talk about. Consider me a venter. Ryan Gross, welcome to the venters. I wish all the people watching would become venters. We walk every day, we drink water every day, and we try our best to avoid sugar like the plague. Anyway, let us know what you think so far about Etika's video here, and let us know if you're contemplating becoming a venter or if you already are.
I personally wish I could be as delusional and stubborn as most of these influences and keep gaining weight and keep pretending that I feel good, keep pretending that I don't feel chest pains, keep pretending that my knees aren't aching, that my back doesn't hurt when I'm barely in my 20s. I would so love to die at 30 because of heart disease. Like, I would love that. I'm being sarcastic, by the way. You know, growing up as a fat person, you never really get to live life to its fullest because there's so many things that, well, I'll just speak on my personal experience. There's so many things that I have stopped myself from doing because I felt like only at a certain weight was I allowed to love myself, which is not true. You can love yourself at any size. But what kills me the most is that the reason for me not being happy is simply because I cannot close my mouth and deny myself of extra calories for a few months. Like, isn't that sad? Like, I find that really sad that because I was too stubborn to take accountability, that I wasted years of my life packing on weight and hiding myself from the world when I could have done so much more. And the thought of these fat positivity influences lying to the youth, telling them it's okay to be fat, it's okay to be overweight, it's okay to develop eating disorders, it's okay to eat till your heart's desire. That's lack of self-control. That's gluttony. Those are mental issues. Those are emotional issues that you need to deal with. Those are traumas that you need to fix. Those are addictions. Yes, you can be addicted to food. Food is addicting. It's constantly littered with MSGs and all kinds of other things. And it's crazy to me that I would allow myself to gain all that weight and live a crappy life.
I was trying to find a place to stop there, but she just kept throwing more gold on there. You know, there's a fine line between coming to grips with reality and then putting yourself down. And she, at this point in her life, lost 80 pounds. So I think this is more of a victorious side, right? But at the same time, it's real easy when you're not losing 80 pounds to still feel these ways. And when you think like this, it does kind of make people that are heavier feel a little bit more crappier than they need to. We need to have sympathy and empathy for people that are bigger. And that's why I have my channel here. I want to be able to walk with you guys every day for the rest of your life. If you look at videos on YouTube of people that are walking, drinking water, and avoiding sugar, it's almost always a happy ending. So if you want to change your life, and if you're tired of beating up yourself and listening to people that have gotten away from being overweight and how happy they are, and it kind of brings you down, you can join them. Just go on a walk with us. So right now, go get your socks and shoes.
When we could lose all that weight in a year or 2 or 3 for some and have decades of a healthy and amazing life where we heal our relationship with food. And honestly, I would rather die trying to be skinny than live my life fat. And this is coming from a fat person. I did have a taste of the skinny experience. Everyone began noticing me for the right reasons. I remember my soccer coach was like congratulating me in front of like everyone, like, oh my gosh, Annika lost weight. The guy I kind of had a crush on, calling me hot, even though he was toxic. Yeah.
You want to know what I think? I think sometimes the doctor tells us you better start losing weight or you're not going to live as long as you'd like to live. I think some of us legitimately start walking and exercising when we hear that stuff, right? Because nobody wants to hear that from the doctor. But did you see that smile that went on her face when she described the guy that she thought was good looking and he told her she was hot, right? I think that's the real reason that many of us want to get in shape and lose weight. Call me crazy, right? But I think some of us want to see what abs look like on us. I think some of us want to fit into that wedding dress once upon a time. I think some of us want to look back on those high school yearbooks and say, I knew I could get that small again, right? So I just think it's amazing whenever I hear anybody's story. If you want to lose weight and have those really good feel good feelings, I think it's accomplishable. But just like she said earlier, it might take you a year, it might take you 2, or it might take you 3. But speaking as somebody that's 47, 3 years goes by quick. Let's do it together.
I felt seen when I was, and I wasn't even skinny. I was just like less fat. And that was the first time I ever felt seen. I was like, damn, is this what it feels like to be human? Not to be treated like trash. But when you're fat, lonely, and or broke, nobody cares. You're invisible. You have to make the cut or else you'll be marginalized by society. Why do you think people constantly praise celebrities? Because they have what we want. They have the bodies, they have the houses, the cars, whatever it is. We all aspire to be that, at least some people. For the next couple of weeks and months, I will be sharing my journey. And this channel is really for younger me and what I wish she would hear. Because things would have been so much easier I have tried to lose weight countless of times, and it wasn't until I fixed my mindset and addressed my emotional traumas that I was finally able to recover from my eating disorder and food addiction. And just know that you deserve to be happy.
That is awesome, Etika. Bravo. Congratulations on losing the 80 pounds. Don't ever look back. Let's move forward and let's walk. Etika, one of your fans wrote, "Hey girl, I'm so glad this video came up on my YouTube feed. Everything you said deeply resonated with me to the point where I got teary-eyed. I was also a fat kid all my life with the pretty friends who got to wear the pretty clothes and the attention from all the boys. Also had to go on diet programs from a young age and developed an eating disorder. I've been working on losing weight, down 17 kilograms this year and 25 kilograms more to go. The hardest part is the self-love throughout the whole process, but it's a work in progress. Your self-awareness is beautiful, your motivation and outlook on things is beautiful, and you are absolutely beautiful. Etika, I'm so excited to follow along with your journey and heal parts of myself along with you. All the best with your journey, and even if we don't know each other personally, I will be on the sidelines cheering you on." And that's, my friends, why you guys should consider being YouTube creators. When you do things and you put your passion into it and you're genuine, you'll find that your subscribers and your viewers are the most inspirational and motivational people in the world. And I'm here to motivate and inspire you as well. So go get your shoes. Let's go for a walk. Good morning, Venters. I hope you guys are having a beautiful Thursday. It is Wednesday for me, so happy hump day. If you're a Venter, Thursday is another hump day for us because, as you guys know, we work out by walking every single day. Well, do the math. On a 7-day week, that makes Thursday the Venter's hump day. So happy hump day, Venter style. Hope you guys are having a great day. I was able to pretty much wake up and get right outside my door. You know, sometimes when I'm editing at night, it can bleed into, midnight, 1 in the morning. So well, maybe not 1 in the morning. Like, I usually average anywhere where I finish anywhere from like 11 to like 12:30. And last night was one of those days where I was up until 12:30 editing my videos. I have this new thing where for every video I'm trying to add 1 or 2 comments from a dieter's comment section or a YouTuber's comment section. And if you guys could let me know down below in the comments if you guys like that or you think I should scrap that. The thing I like about it is every once in a while, guys, I'll find a video that somebody does where it's only 3 or 4 minutes. And when you're taking somebody's video and you're trying to share it with your audience, it's tacky if you use the whole video. So what I always try to do is I try to use a percentage of a person's video to share it with you guys. And that's easier to do if a video is 7 or 8 minutes. But it's harder to do if a video is 1 or 2 or 3 minutes. And it's also harder to do if a good video is 30 or 40 minutes. Why? Well, if a video is 30 or 40 minutes, it requires me to watch it for at least 5 or 10 to see if it's worth sharing, right? And then out of that 30-minute video, I have to find a good 5, 6, 7 minutes to share with you guys. Good morning. what's really awesome about sharing comments is that it enables me to take a 3 or 4 minute video that normally would be just too short for me to share with you guys, and I can share 2 or 3 minutes of that video and then comment on it for another 3 or 4 minutes based on their comments. So I just thought, heck, by adding comments, it kind of gives me an ability to stretch out a reaction, because I don't think anybody wants to watch a reaction that's literally 2 minutes, you know? If I can somehow make that first segment of the show a little bit closer to 10 minutes, you know, that would be great. But I'm starting to notice that with 500 or 520 subscribers, wherever I'm at, I'm starting to notice that my videos are starting to average a little bit closer to 200 views, which is exciting. You know, I'm starting to see that growth, right? And the other day, if you guys remember, I put up a video about Cyan, and Cyan went from 670 pounds down to like 400 and something. And I don't know what it is about people and what makes them click on a video or not, right? But what I notice is that people tend to really view videos where people have lost an enormous amount of weight. It's just inspirational. And when I shared Cyan's video, all of a sudden I noticed that a couple of people in the comment section started saying, hey, I follow this guy, I like this guy's videos, blah, blah, blah. And right now that video, instead of averaging, you know, maybe 200 views or whatever, is currently sitting at about 600 or 700. So that one's kind of taken off a little, and occasionally I'll have a video that, you know, that gets 1,000 or 2,000 views. Doesn't go viral by any means, but this might be one of those channels where, you know, my videos might not ever go viral. But I still feel like I have an advantage because I'm one of the few people that is legitimately filming their hobby, you know? My exercise that I do every day, guys, is also my hobby. I mean, I don't know well, here's the weird thing. I was just gonna tell you guys, you know, with most hobbies, you usually study your hobby, this, that, and the other. And I was gonna say, I don't know if it's like a traditional hobby, because I don't study, you know, my craft like somebody that's maybe a Coca-Cola collector or a model maker, right? They might study their hobby. But at the same time, what have I been doing since doing my channel? I've been studying my hobby, right? So while our diet and exercise plan includes walking every day, drinking water, and avoiding sugar, some people's diet includes eating carnivorous meats, right? Just meats. Other people's diet, just vegetables. Some people, workout gurus, right? Where all they want to do is work out for multiple hours, multiple times a week, right? So everybody has their own individual way of doing things. And I find that kind of fascinating. I feel like this journey, this first 4 going on 5 months, has just been really amazing. Also, we hear a lot of videos where they contradict each other. You have some people who say, God, my diet has just changed my life. And then you have other people that say, oh, dieting doesn't work. I'm more of an intuitive eater, right? And then the people that do the diet look back and they say, don't listen to those intuitive eaters. If I went by their plan, I would weigh 1 million pounds. So it's just kind of interesting. There's little differences of opinion when it comes to the diet and exercise world. Say if you're relying on willpower, you're going to end up letting yourself down at some point down the road, okay? I totally disagree with that. You know, you're talking to a guy that if you consider walking, working out, you know, you're talking to a guy that right before your eyes has managed to bring his camera along and work out for the last, 100 and some odd days in a row, 130 days in a row. I mean, I don't know too many people that actually work out and are bodybuilders that work out that much. And if you were to tell them what my workout is, they would laugh and giggle and say, well, Jesse,
You're taking a walk. It's not like that's difficult. And that's where the magic occurs. That's when the bell should ring in your head. If everybody agrees that my plan is not that difficult, then what is it? It's the world's easiest plan for diet and exercise. It's the world's easiest plan where you can teach yourself this unknown talent called willpower. Guys, we're making it sound like people with willpower don't exist because we're telling people that willpower doesn't work. If willpower didn't work, I don't think Elon Musk would be Elon Musk. If willpower didn't work, I don't think any bodybuilders would exist. I think you have to be able to tap into your willpower. Well, Jeji, how do I do that? Well, Bob, I'm glad you asked. Just like any type of muscle, the more you work it out, the stronger that muscle becomes, right? Practice makes perfect. Willpower is no different. Right now, willpower seems like something you can't tap into because you're so used to diet and exercise plans not working. So how do we change that? We change that with habits. Let's create a daily habit. We go to work every day. 99% of people use their job as an excuse why they can't work out. In our case, we're going to use it as a catalyst. What do you mean? Bob, what I mean is, if your job starts at 8 and you leave at 7:30, what is stopping you from getting out of your house at 7 and taking a half-hour walk? If you work a weird schedule and you're off 3 days out of the week, what is preventing you from working those 3 days? I don't want to work those 3 days. Those are my days off. Yeah, work in the form of doing your workout. Go on your walks. If you have 3 days off and you work some sort of weird 4-day shift with 10-hour days, which isn't weird at all, people work those all the time, why not make those 3 days off your 3 days where you can start to go for extra credit? And I'll tell you why. If you can bump up your daily walk from 30 minutes to 45 or even 60 minutes, then what happens is on those days that you work, you can still talk yourself into a 30-minute walk because you're used to walking an hour on the days that you don't work. You got to get to the point where you see your walk no different than Jesse does. How do you see your walk, Jesse? Bob, you know how I see my walk. I love my walk. It's my hobby. It's my passion. It's the way I clear my head. You know, when you're walking, your blood is flowing. So even if you wake up last second and you're half asleep, guys, 5-10 minutes later, you're completely awake. How long have I been walking? You guys can look on the clock. I've probably been walking for 10 minutes? In that 10 minutes, I went from saying, God, I'm tired. I wish I could collect my thoughts better back there. And now I feel completely awake. And we're going to use the knowledge that we learned yesterday. This particular road here has a lot of shade that I can use, so I'm going to use it. And guess what? We're going to walk right next to one of our daily walkers. Gives us a chance to say hello. Good morning. How are you, sir? Keep going. Yeah. You too. So that gentleman walks all the time. What's interesting is he almost has a walking uniform. Is it just me, or every time we see him, is he kind of dressed the same? So some of you, like Lily, kind of take note of the routes that I take. And you guys have seen me take so many walks, or at least Lily has, where she kind of knows the different routes that I can take, right? And what's interesting is, I'm sure Lily has started to notice gentlemen like the one that we passed. There are people that are legitimately walking every single day. Now, what's really weird, and I hope I didn't play a part in this, but ever since we saw the red venter, LeBeau, I haven't seen her. God, I hope she didn't decide to totally abandon her route because maybe she didn't want me bugging her. that could be the case sometimes. Sometimes when people walk, they really don't necessarily want, to have interactions with people. And that's one of the things that we have to respect. Not everybody wants to be our buddy or watch our YouTube channel, right? But at the same time, no big deal. I would still recommend saying hello to people and good morning. And if you run into people that ignore you and pretend like you're not there, just know that that's probably part of the simulation. I always thought that was weird. Even when I was a little boy, occasionally you would walk by an adult and say, good morning, or hi, mister. And sometimes people just act like you're not there. It's really, really bizarre. And I always wonder what goes through their head. Do they literally tell themselves, this person just said hello to me or good morning, I'm just going to ignore them and pretend like they don't exist? Because what those people don't understand is that the person saying good morning or hello isn't the asshole. They are. And again, it's my firm belief that if you're a jerk, you're probably not going to live that long. I'm telling you, it's really weird. If you look at elderly people, and I've spoken to a lot of people in my day, as a career salesman, one of my jobs throughout my life was to learn where people were coming from, to try to give them a product or service that would better their life, even if it didn't. That's what sales is, right? And what I notice is that there are some people that have a legitimate smile in their voice. And there's some people that'll talk your ear off. But you know who talks your ear off the most? That little nice elderly man or that little nice elderly woman will talk your ear off because they don't have anybody else to talk to, And I'm telling you, the people that don't say hello and, don't act human, don't act with decency towards people, I'm telling you, they end up living alone and being a lot like 2 Cents, where their only friend is a dog. And the dog's even a jerk, So again, if you get off on treating people like they don't exist or acting like you're better than others, man, you are going to have one day where you wish you didn't act like that, And again, if you're a bad human being, I don't care if you only make it till your 50s or 60s, I think we need to better the world. I think the way we get better is we just start teaching kids and people how to act better towards their fellow man. That's one of the things that's always weirded me out. Why do some people nod their head and say good morning? Why do some people act like you don't exist? Does that ever trip you guys out? How do you feel when you walk up to somebody and you nod your head and they literally act like you weren't there? It's really bizarre to me, because I tell myself, my God, you're telling me this person has never stopped to say hello? And it's not true. There have been moments where they have said hello. I think we all do. Has there ever been moments where I saw somebody and kind of pretended like they weren't there? Well, yeah, sometimes we do that with homeless people, right? So sometimes there is that scenario, right? I got somebody that's walking here holding a piece of cardboard in front of their face. Just one of those weird things that you see every now and then. I don't know if she's keeping the cardboard in front of her face to stay out of the sun or what. She's like, I don't want to be on Walk Talk Vent, right? I think it's because of the sun. Another thing I've noticed, a couple of the people throughout my walk that I used to see constantly, and what's funny is that lady might be the person that I used to see that would wear the hoodie every day. If you guys remember her from the first 90-day challenge, let me know, because that might be her. I just remember the person I saw would wear a hoodie, and they dressed a certain way, where they would dress that way the same way each day. So another interesting thing that I've noticed, and you might notice this too with people in your neighborhood, I have a million different shirts. About a third of them are different shades of blue, right? I've got a red shirt like I do now, but I've got all these different shirts that I wear, and Usually I have a different colored shirt on every day. What's really weird is there are some people where every day it looks like they're dressed the exact same. Is that part of the simulation, Jesse? Bob, I think so. Are these people that I'm walking by real? I don't think they're robots. Am I imagining them wearing the exact same thing every day? How does the red venter have so many red shirts? Does she only buy red shirts, or is she one of these folks that has one particular shirt that she puts on every day to take her walk in? I don't know. It's odd to me. Is there anything wrong with it? No, if you have the same color shirt or whatever and you wear it all the time, that's no big deal at all. But considering there's so many colors to choose from, it does seem a little off. Do you wear the same outfit every day that you walk? I don't know how that's possible in Arizona, because you're sweating like crazy by the time you get home, you know? On another note, I don't know if you guys watch the RNC rallies and what have you, but man, is it just me, or does it look like Donald Trump looks like he's ready to burst out into tears? You know, it's interesting when you know in your heart that you escaped death. I would imagine every day does become a gift, you know? And let's be honest, even if you're not a big fan and even if you dislike Donald Trump, you know, I don't think anybody wanted the guy to lose his life, you know? And when you realize that, wow, because I moved my head, I'm still alive, I think that would make me emotional too. You have to really start wondering, does somebody up there want me to live? You know, what made me move my head the last second? Why is Trump alive today, but President Kennedy isn't? And even if President Kennedy was never shot, right, in Dallas, I'm sure he would be gone by this time, right? He'd be 120 years old probably. But I find that interesting. He is one of these guys that right before our eyes, he escaped the Grim Reaper. That's gotta be life-changing. As a matter of fact, one of the things that I heard, and maybe you guys can concur and tell me if you guys heard this too, I heard that he kind of ripped up his previous speech. I think he was gonna do the regular old speech where he talks about, you know, things that he wants to implement and how the Democrats and Joe Biden are kind of holding the country back. But from what I understand, he kind of wants to bring more unity. Sometimes these things change us as people, you know? You walk out into the road and you escape death. A car nearly hits you. You know, you start to think, my goodness, I love my kids. I love my grandkids. I love my husband. I love my wife, right? And it gets you emotional. One time, I had a panic attack on an airplane. We were flying back from Las Vegas to Arizona. Thank God the flight's only, 45 minutes or so? And for the last 10 or 15 minutes, I had a panic attack where I literally felt like I was having a heart attack on the plane. And when I got down to Sky Harbor, they had, the medical team there come and take a look at me. They convinced me that all it was dehydration, right? And I started drinking some water and getting dehydrated, and slowly but surely I felt better. But I remember when I landed, I was really emotional and tears were welling up in my eyes. And it wasn't that I was in pain and I no longer felt like I was, having a heart attack. The reason I was emotional is I think right before my eyes, I realized that's what people do when they die. You know, when you have a panic attack, and you guys, some of you have had anxiety or panic attacks, you really do feel like you're having a heart attack or a stroke or that you're dying. Everybody feels that way when they're having that type of situation, or at least everyone that I've heard of. And for me to have that situation when you're way up in the air on an airplane, that is just the worst, you know? And that was my first ever experience with a panic attack. And when they told me that it was because of dehydration, and then I think I told you guys over the past couple days that when I was in Vegas, I can't sleep well. So you have this weird situation of circumstances where you can't sleep, where you're not drinking water or being as healthy as you normally would be, right? And it can really hit you like a ton of bricks. And when you're in that situation where you feel like you're dying and all of a sudden you're alive, you feel like, wow, I really escaped something. And then, of course, years later, I had another 1 or 2 panic attacks. I've had about 3 or 4 in my whole life. And I'm telling you, even though you tell yourself, it's a panic attack, I'm gonna be okay, you literally feel like you're dying. It's bizarre. It's really bizarre. If any of you guys have had panic or anxiety attacks, let me know if you experience the same phenomena where you literally feel, I'm dying. And the funny thing is when you feel that way and you go to the emergency room, the nurse in the emergency room, every time, no, Jesse, you're fine. You're fine. Your pulse is perfect. Your blood pressure looks good, right? Your heart is beating. There's no irregularities. You're good to go. What I also noticed that I thought was interesting is on the couple times where I've had a panic attack where I've led myself down to the emergency room, a lot of times right when you walk into the emergency room and you check in and you go and you sit down, this is no joke, a lot of times the heart rate would go back to normal and you feel better. I don't know if it was just the security of being at the emergency room. Oh, by the way, sometimes when you walk, you remember other things, right? Did you guys hear about this in California? I guess it was part of Kaiser Permanente. They had a situation where a guy checked into the emergency room because he was feeling poorly. And apparently this guy, he had to wait 8 hours in the emergency room and he ended up dying. Did you guys hear about this? Now, I don't know about you, but when you go to the emergency room, they tell you, hey, if this is a non-emergency, don't waste your time at the ER, go to an urgent care. But this guy goes to an ER, he legitimately felt poorly, right? And for them to make him wait for 8 hours, that's just another beautiful part of California, right? Because it happened in California. That's one of those things that just makes you shake your head. I hope that that family sues that hospital, and I hope they don't win 200 million or something crazy. Whenever you hear of people winning these crazy amounts, I think that's really bad for the country, that's bad for the state, that's bad for the city. I think what they ought to do is, hey, your family member died, here's, let's say 1 or 2 million bucks. They need to keep it in the realm of reality. I don't think most people that die would have earned 150 million bucks in their life. Do they deserve to have money, do they deserve to have their family taken care of? Yes. Here's your 1 or 2 million bucks. Let's move on. Jesse, I don't think you can put a price tag on a person's life. Yeah, but I think we can all agree most people weren't going to make 200 million in their lifetime. You know what I mean? If you take out Elon Musk, yeah, I could see his family wanting hundreds of millions, maybe even billions of dollars, because he's Elon Musk and he was going to earn that in his lifetime. But does anybody else agree with me that when you sue the city or the state or the airport or this, that, and the other, and you end up winning money the equivalent of winning a Powerball drawing, something's a little weird about that. Could you imagine if every day somebody sued the city or state for a Powerball winning, right? For a couple 100 million. So before you know it, after 5, 10, 15 lawsuits, you've got trillions or billions of dollars going to people that basically won the lottery because a friend or family member, was done wrong by a hospital or by a city or by the state. I remember once my Uncle Jeff was half run over by a city bus. And because he didn't have the wherewithal and the means to get himself a lawyer, he ended up being excited that the bus company just sent him a check for like $2,500. And I remember shaking my head because at the time I was like 12, 13 years old. But I remember at the time thinking, my goodness, why don't you try to find a lawyer? I'm sure somebody could get you more than $2,500. I knew that as a 12 or 13-year-old kid. But if you would have told me at that time, hey, your Uncle Jeff is now worth $85 million. I would have thought that was the craziest thing. I would have said, my Uncle Jeff? Him? You know? Just because your family member perishes in a horrible accident, or even if it was on purpose, right? Let's say the police beat up your family member and they perish. You deserve to be paid off heavenly, right? Or heavily. But you don't deserve 300 million bucks. Get out of here. Why do I say that? Because you're not suing a person or a business. A lot of times you're suing the city or the state. Who is that? That's me. You're suing me because a bus almost ran you over. And then in reality, you find out half the times that, yeah, it was the bus's fault, but it was like 90% the bus's fault. It was still 10% yours. Because what are we told as people? We're told that when you're walking, you got to keep your head up and on a swivel because sometimes vehicles will hit you. Don't walk behind vehicles because you don't know if they can see you, especially if you're a little kid, right? There are certain things that we're told in life to keep ourselves safe. Keep your head up and on a swivel. If you keep your head up and you see some crazy looking character up ahead, you know, try to give yourself some room. Try not to walk right up to the crazy looking character. There's certain things we can do that are kind of like, well, duh, you know? So again, if one of your family members has ever sued the city for hundreds of millions of dollars, great. But you want to know something? I'd be willing to bet that that family member took that money, moved across the country. It's not like they're going to send you any of it. You know? I remember growing up, we had a rich Aunt Margaret, and I'll never forget this. She visited us in the 80s, and I'll never forget my mom would tell my uncles, Aunt Margaret is rich. So let me tell you about my great Aunt Margaret. It was my mom's aunt. It was my grandfather's sister, right? Number one, my grandfather was a little bit of a jerk. Actually, a lot of a jerk. He divorced my grandmother before I was born, and every time he would pop over, he had some great sermon to give us, right? And it's like, hey, you believe in God and I believe in God, but, you know, I don't know if purgatory is real, but if anybody's in purgatory now, it's my grandfather. Not the best human being, not the type of person you want to hear about God from, right? So we'll just put that out there. My grandpa's probably the reason people are atheist, because they don't like to hear people that act a certain way and then preach another way. Ugh. Anyway, I got to tell you about my great Aunt Margaret. She was the most unnice person in the world. I could tell that as an 8-year-old boy when I met her, right? And I remember my two uncles and my mom would treat this person like royalty. And I knew even back then, you shouldn't fake like you care about somebody just to get some money when they die. What a shitty reason to be a decent human being, right? And I'll never forget when she passed away, that woman didn't send my mom or my uncles one penny. Not one penny. And every time they kissed her butt, she rewarded them by acting like a jerk. So that's my one memory of great Aunt Margaret, right? So Aunt Margaret, if you're up there in heaven looking down, you know, I hope that was one of those things that God and St. Peter went over with you. You should have treated people better. If you're somebody's great Aunt Margaret, if you're somebody that when people say hello, you can't say hello back or good morning back, God, you really should work on that. There's going to come a day in your life where you're going to wish that you actually treated people more decently, because you're going to end up being that lonely guy like 2 Cent and his dog. With that being said, always treat people nicely, regardless if there's any reward, right? Because the real reward is a better world. Have a great day.